Let's talk sleepers for this weekend and the long scoring period up next on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5 on Friday, July 19th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White and previewing Week 17. This is not going to be our usual preview because there are different lineup periods depending on the format that you play in. So if you play in Roto leagues, you're likely just setting your lineup for this weekend. If you play in head-to-head leagues, a lot of those formats play a long 10-day lineup from July 19th to July 28th. So we will cover both of those scoring periods here. Let's start with sleepers for just this weekend. Scott, who are some sleeper pitchers that you like?
Okay, you may have to turn to more of these since obviously not all of your pitchers are going to be making a turn this weekend. But these guys should be, and most of the matchups are pretty good. Reese Olson's pretty much always on this list at Toronto. That's a favorable matchup. Michael Wacha has the best matchup of all, the White Sox. And, of course, he has been very reliable lately, rarely giving up more than 2 earned runs. Spencer Schwellenbach coming off 2 really good starts in the first half. He gets the Cardinals this weekend. That's a pretty favorable matchup. Brandon Pfaadt gets the Cubs, which is more of a middling matchup, but Pfaadt, when he's going well, tends to eat innings, sometimes gets a lot of strikeouts, and his last few turns have been pretty good. Matt Waldron is at the Guardians. A good lineup, but I think a knuckleballer like him, that's such an oddity in the game that as long as that pitch is working for him, I think he can handle any lineup with it. Jose Quintana at Miami. Really good matchup. They're especially bad against lefties, though they're bad against everybody. Facing Oakland, we have both Tyler Anderson and Jose Soriano, a couple of Angels pitchers. Anderson's, I think, has been an overachiever all year. Soriano, probably the more talented of the two, actually, but he has his flaws, walks being chief among them. But the A's rank toward the bottom of the league in runs scored. They're pretty prolific with the home runs, so that makes it a little scary, especially the Anderson start. But, we're pretty far down in the sleeper pitcher rankings, and you have to understand that some risk comes with that. Also, we got Frankie Montas at the Nationals and Luis Severino at the Marlins.
The best hitter matchups this weekend, we have the Giants who are in Coors Field, and then the Angels, Royals, Mets, and Marlins. The worst hitter matchups, the Brewers and Twins, who only played 2 games this weekend for some reason, the Astros, the Blue Jays, and the Rangers. Who are some sleeper hitters you like this weekend?
Mark Vientos, I'm coming to like him regardless of matchups, but he gets the Marlins staff for those 3 games. Reese Hines against the Nationals. Those aren't great hitter matchups, but Hines was on such a roll before the break. I think you have to ride that as long as it lasts. Jorge Soler, my guy right here on my shirt. He is the Giants hitter who I think you can most use to capitalize on that series at Coors Field. Thairo Estrada's on this list for the same reason. JD Martinez, like his teammate Mark Vientos, gets the Marlins staff. Michael Busch was hot before the break. His matchups are okay going against the Diamondbacks. Michael Toglia, 3-homer game just before the break, 6 homers in his last 6 games. Hits the ball very hard. Definitely is a power hitter, Michael Toglia, though he has some drawbacks, the strikeouts. But those 6 home runs I referred to, they came on the road. He's at home now. And so I'm optimistic he'll take advantage of that. Brian De La Cruz and Xavier Edwards both have pretty good matchups against the Mets. Xavier Edwards only 8% rostered. Was getting a lot of hits before the break, is a good base stealer. I think he's worth looking into in deeper leagues especially. And then Colt Keith was very hot before the break, 353 batting average, 5 homers in his last 14 games.
What about sleeper pitchers for the long 10-day scoring period, July 19th to the 28th? Lots of holdovers from the previous sleeper pitcher list. Brandon Pfaadt, Reese Olson, Tyler Anderson, Jose Soriano. The one difference here, Scott, is Andrew Heaney.
Yeah, Andrew Heaney, and his matchups might be the most favorable of anyone in this group against the White Sox and at Toronto. And the first of those two is Tuesday, which means both of those starts fall within Week 18, if your league splits it into 2 scoring periods, the 10 days into 2 scoring periods instead of 1, Heaney would be a 2-start pitcher even in that second scoring period. And same thing with his teammate, Michael Lorenzo, those same good matchups, White Sox, Blue Jays. So another one to keep in mind there if you are splitting the scoring periods up.
The best hitter matchups for the long week: Giants, Rockies, Angels, A's, and Braves. The worst hitter matchups: Twins, Brewers, Blue Jays, Reds, and Yankees. The sleeper hitters: some holdovers, again, Jorge Soler, Michael Toglia, they get those games in Coors Field, but it's got 3 additions to the list: Jesse Winker, Luis Garcia, and Lawrence Butler.
Yeah, Lawrence Butler was just as hot as Toglia before the break. Also a 3-homer game. Same day, right? Sunday? Just before the break?
Yep.
And he has 7 homers in his last 12 games. Very similar to Toglia. Great exit velocities, too many strikeouts. But we're seeing the production happen now. I'm not confident either one of these players will turn into something worth using long term, but the matchups are in their favor now, and obviously they were very hot. So I think Butler, 6 or 7, I should say, of his 10 games during the 10-day scoring period are against the Angels staff. So I'd like Butler to take advantage of that. And Winker and Luis Garcia, anytime the Nationals are scheduled to face a bunch of righties, they're worth using.
And if you need sleepers for the next week that's starting this Monday, if you play in a league where it's split up, like Scott mentioned, you set your lineup for this weekend, you set it again on Monday, then you could find those sleepers for Week 18 this weekend. We'll be live on the site, likely on Saturday, cbssports.com/fantasy/baseball.
Written form.
Yes, I should probably mention that. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Odyssey app, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.